Fest 2020. Thank you so much for being here. So tonight is going to be another show and tell presentation. We've got Group L of our show and tell groups. I'm going to go over the order of events for tonight. So first, we're going to give a brief introduction to San Francisco Zine Fest. We're going to lay out the house rules and expectations. Then all of the exhibitors are going to go into breakout rooms so that they can get to know each other and talk a little bit and break the ice. And then exhibitors will be presenting their work for about 40 minutes or so. And if there's time after that, we'll have some questions, Q&A session, just a little conversation. And then we'll close it up and announce the upcoming events. So San Francisco Zine Fest was founded in 2001 as a gathering place for writers and artists from all over, but especially from the Bay Area. And it's typically held as a one-day event at the County Fair building in Golden Gate Park. Our 2019 festival had about 240 exhibitors and over 5,000 attendees, but due to COVID-19 this year, our 2020 event is 100% virtual. And this show and tell session is hosted by me. My name is Neil Ballard, and I'm one of the volunteer organizers of Zine Fest. So Cyberfest is 3 weeks of online programming rather than just one day of our in-person event. It consists of exhibitor show and tells like tonight. We also have readings, workshops, demonstrations, interviews, and all kinds of virtual events like that. And because we have a longer event this year, usually we have one guest of honor, but this year we have 3. And they are Alex L. Combs, Death P. Sun, and Tana Tucker. And each guest of honor was the guest of honor for each week of the festival. So this is the 3rd week of the festival. So Tana Tucker is our week 3 guest of honor. So I'm going to read out our Safer Spaces policy. We are committed to providing a harassment-free experience for everyone, regardless of gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, or religion. We will not tolerate harassment at SF Zine Fest events in any form. Individuals violating the Safer Spaces policy may be sanctioned or expelled from the space or the event at the discretion of any SF Zine Fest organizer. This means that we've got to respect other people's opinions, beliefs, differing states of being, and differing points of view. Always get explicit verbal consent before taking someone's photo or crossing other personal boundaries. Be responsible for your actions and aware that they may have an effect on others regardless of your original intent. So a safe and respectful community is everyone's responsibility, and we appreciate everyone's effort to make this a nice and a good safe space for everyone. So some guidelines for Zoom meetings for the format we have tonight. Please keep your video off unless you're presenting, so we can keep our video quality a good quality. Please keep yourself on mute unless you are presenting. If you have a question, go ahead and ask it in the chat. The chat is moderated. Artists will have 4 minutes to share their work, and you can use your 4 minutes however you like. You can read some of your work, you can introduce yourself, read your bio, get creative with it, whatever strikes your fancy. Compliment each other in the chat, comment on each other's work, or just say hi if you like. We have ASL interpretation tonight provided by volunteers Nicole Watson and Erin Webbs. So we really appreciate their work providing interpretation. Please be mindful for folks who are blind or visually impaired by being specific and descriptive when sharing your work. Also, because we do have ASL interpretation, we do ask that you just make an effort to speak slowly and clearly so that there's no problems with keeping up with what people are saying. This Zoom session is being recorded and broadcast to Facebook and YouTube. So above all, please be respectful. So now we're going to put everyone into breakout rooms, and it'll work as a private small group meeting, so you can introduce yourselves and say hi. The prompt for tonight's breakout rooms is going to be, what is something that you are especially skilled at doing? So go ahead to talk about that, or anything else that you'd like to. And the breakout rooms will begin now, and we will see you all soon. So let me just pull this up, make sure everyone's going in the rooms. It looks like that's happening. Great. Okay, so while others are in the breakout rooms, I have a little something planned. But first, I want to encourage everyone to support SF Zine Fest by buying our merchandise that we have available at our store. So this is really the way that we are supporting ourselves this year, and to make sure that we can have SF Zine Fest next year. Usually we collect revenue by selling or by collecting tabling fees and donations on the day of the event, but this year we're not able to do that. So the merchandise is really the main way we're able to support. So we have some great merch up there. So sfzinefest.com, you'll be able to find it, and we really appreciate that. So now I'll just read some poetry from C.P. Cavafy, who is a modernist poet from Alexandria and one of my personal favorites. I'll start with one called The City. You said, I'll go to another country, go to another shore, find another city better than this one. Whatever I try to do is fated to turn out wrong, and my heart lies buried as though it were something dead. How long can I let my mind molder in this place? Wherever I turn, wherever I happen to look, I see the black ruins of my life here, where I've spent so many years, wasted them, and destroyed them totally. You won't find a new country, won't find another shore. This city will always pursue you. You will walk the same streets, grow old in the same neighborhoods, will turn gray in these same houses. You will always end up in this city. Don't hope for things elsewhere. There is no ship for you. There is no road. As you've wasted your life here in this small corner, you've destroyed it everywhere else in the world. And I think I have time for one more here. This one is entitled, The God Abandons Antony. When suddenly at midnight you hear an invisible procession going by with exquisite music, voices, don't mourn your luck that's failing now, work gone wrong, your plans all proving deceptive. Don't mourn them uselessly. As one long prepared and graced with courage, say goodbye to her, the Alexandria that is leaving. Above all, don't fool yourself. Don't say it was a dream, your ears deceived you. Don't degrade yourself with empty hopes like these. As one long prepared and graced with courage, as is right for you who proved worthy of this kind of city, go firmly to the window and listen with deep emotion, but not with the whining, the pleas of a coward. Listen, your final delectation, to the voices, to the exquisite music of that strange procession, and say goodbye to her, to the Alexandria that you are losing. That poem in particular was made into a song by Leonard Cohen. So he adapted the lyrics into his song. So it looks like people are still in the breakout rooms. I'll see if I have time to read another short one here. Glory of the Ptolemies. Oh, no, everyone's back. So that ends the poetry time. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. Let me see here. Yeah. Let's get started with the show and tell. So I'm just gonna navigate back to my slides if I can. Bear with me one second here. Okay, hope everyone had a good conversation in the breakout rooms. So I'll just go over what to do/say when presenting. So please tell us your name and pronouns. So like for me, I am Neil Ballard. My pronouns are he, him, his. Are you based in the Bay Area? Where are you now, if not in the Bay Area? Tell us a little bit about yourself, show us your work, or read something from your zines or comics, or like I said, whatever else you prefer for your 4 minutes. Here is the presenting order for tonight. So just to give everyone a quick heads up about that, see where you stand in that. And now we can go to our first presenter. It's going to be Adria Soler. And anyone please correct my pronunciation if I get it wrong. But if Adria is here, you can go ahead and get started with the presentation. And if Adria is not here, which seems like it is the case right now, I'm going to just give a quick presentation of their work. So Adria Soler is coming to us from Brooklyn, New York. And there is this this cool illustration of a person, kind of a looks like a figure drawing where they're in this this kind of pensive pose with a thoughtful look on their face, stretching out their arms. And there's a poem that goes with the image. So it's the bio for Adria Soler is non-binary, and this is their first zine fest. So short and sweet there, to the point. We've got the link where you can find their work. So you can go ahead and take a screenshot of this this page if you'd like to navigate to that. So we encourage you to check out their work. And I'm going to move on to our next next presenter here. So it's going to be Ángela García. So if you are here, you can get started and present.
Okay, so give me just a second.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Ángela García. My pronouns are she, her, and this is my first time ever being accepted into a zine festival. So I'm really excited and really grateful to be here. Yeah, I'm really excited and really grateful to be here. I've been looking at all the other artists that I'm included with, and their work is all really amazing. The zines that I did submit to this festival were the first zines that I ever made. And the first one that I want to talk about is called We the Detained. And it's a play on We the People, which is in the US Constitution. And the main focus of We the Detained is about detainee liberation and sort of the human rights violations that happen at these ICE concentration camps that are here in McAllen and all along the US-Mexico border. A lot of what's featured in the zines are headlines from 2018, from 2 years ago, and I wanted to include them to kind of show how relevant they still are 2 years later and how these violations are still happening to this day. Usually when these kinds of really difficult stories break on the news, I have these very emotional responses to them. So being able to create works like this is very therapeutic for me, very healing for me. And then being able to share them and take part in this sort of artistic vulnerability with whoever's willing to read or watch or share them is very fulfilling to me. Sort of more or continuing in line with these emotional responses that I have to these kinds of difficult stories. The second zine that I wanted to talk about is called When It Rains, It Pours. And I made that one in response to a hurricane that hit here in late July. Hurricane Hannah made landfall here in McAllen, Texas, and it affected here where I live in McAllen and a lot of other cities in the Valley region. There was a lot of property damage and a lot of destruction. A lot of people were left without power for at least a week, which is a little ridiculous considering that it was just a Category 1 hurricane. We were basically forgotten about by the state government, mainly because we are a region that's predominantly Latinx, predominantly poor and partially undocumented. But even if that is the case, it doesn't mean that we aren't worthy of the same recognition, respect, and help that other regions may or can get. And that's kind of what this second zine was about. I wanted to shed light on the Valley's existence in general and kind of share our story with whoever is willing to listen. And that kind of follows in line with just the zines that I make and that I want to make in general. I want to share these difficult stories and talk about these sort of more local issues with whoever's willing to listen to them. I want to make them accessible. I want to make them digestible and shareable for people that want to read them and share them. And I mean, I'm able to do that here. I'm here at a California-based festival talking about issues from my small region in South Texas. And just more of a closing statement, I want to thank the organizers of San Francisco Zine Fest for allowing me to be here and share my work with everyone. And I want to thank everyone that supported along the way. You can follow me on Instagram at Ángela's Collages. And that's where most of my work is. I work mainly in collage. And thank you to everyone that's tuned in and listening and supporting.
Ángela, thank you. Really
you.
appreciate you sharing the important work that you're doing. And that was exactly ended on time. So kudos for that as well. Thank you. All right. So we're going to move to our next presenter. And that presenter is going to be BuchmanufakturKasimir. And please also correct me if I got that wrong. Do we have this presenter? Okay, it doesn't sound like it. So I will do the, I will present for this one. So this is coming to us all the way from Hamburg, Germany. So Bumaka, which is the name of this this exhibitor's effort, was founded in the year 2009. And the bio reads, since then, I made artist books and zines and participated at different fairs in Germany, Switzerland, and Spain. So a European zine making effort, which is really cool. Their website is located at bumaka.de. There's also an Instagram for folks to check out their works. Looks like some collage with different kinds of lettering and a mix of hand lettering and print and different colors of paper they use. So it's a really a cool aesthetic there. So we encourage you to check out that exhibitor. And yeah, well, with that, we'll move to the next exhibitor, who also, I believe, is not here tonight. And if I'm wrong about that, feel free to just chime in. If anybody, if I say anybody's not here, but they are, absolutely just go ahead and stop me. But this is Erika Reyes, who is coming to us from Los Angeles, California. So Erika Reyes loves telling stories and bringing the reader into another world with her illustrated artistic zines. Erika can be found on Instagram, on Etsy, and then there's also links for Venmo and PayPal to support the artist as well. So yeah, everybody check out Erika's work. All right, Hélène Park, who should be here tonight.
Yep, I'm here.
Great, excellent. All right, well, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Hi, I'm Helen. I go by pronouns she, her. I'm an illustrator and animator in San Francisco, and this is my second SF Zine Fest, and I'm very happy to be here again. I have a little presentation, so let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so I'll be talking about these 4 zines from the biggest to smallest. I've been making zines that have been progressively getting smaller and smaller in size. This is the first zine I've made called The Armchair Anthropology of NYSF. It compiles a list of comparisons of cultural differences between New York and San Francisco, something I couldn't stop doing when I first moved here from New York. Some reflect frustrations I've had, and others are just some observations. As I've settled in and grown to love San Francisco, I've made this little zine as an homage to the wildlife in my local area called Wildlife in the Sunset District. It's a collection of animal drawings that are both considered living treasures like whales and snowy plovers, annoying pests like gophers and skunks, and those in between like bats and owls. This zine is printed on both sides of a single 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper cut in 3 areas and folded into an accordion. Another homemade zine uses the same technique with an 8.5 by 11 size piece of vintage grid paper. This one is called Block Count, and it's a series of blocks that are filled in to create a pattern. I used to be a motion designer for Google, and in my work there, I often found the individual frames of an animation, particularly in the transitional states, to be just as enjoyable to experience on their own. This is kind of the idea behind this. And most recently, I made this teeny tiny zine, the size of a thimble, of a girl looking out through the window, who then turns into a little dot. These drawings are from an animation I made when the pandemic started and I was very paranoid to go outside. These zines and more are available on my site, helenpark.com, and that's Helen with an extra E at the end. They're available individually or as a combo pack of all 4 of these zines I just showed you. And I'd also be very happy to do trades with fellow zine makers too. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Helen. You do have a minute left. So if there's anything else you'd like to share about your work, you can. Otherwise, I'd be curious to know if you use any software to do animation, because I noticed that one was hand-drawn.
Oh yeah, I started using Procreate, and sometimes I'll do a hybrid of After Effects and Procreate.
Oh, okay, that works pretty well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also I like using Clip Studio for animating, but I haven't tried Procreate.
Oh, Clip Studio. I don't think I've heard of that before.
Yes, it's a drawing program that's it's kind of like Photoshop but specifically for drawing. I recommend it a lot if you're interested in checking it out. They have a long free trial that you can do.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Clip Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I'll check it out. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh shoot, the timer's gonna get me here. Okay, great. All right. So thanks, Helen. Appreciate seeing your work there. We're going to move to our next exhibitor. All right, which is going to be Serenity Serseción.
Hi.
Hi there. All right, go ahead.
I did notice my name was misspelled, but that's okay.
Oh, so sorry about that.
It's all right. It gets spelled wrong all the time. So it ends with a C-I-O-N. So hi, I was actually trying to find one of my, well, let me say a little bit about myself. So my name is Serenity and my pronouns are they, them. I'm from Puerto Rico originally, but I now live in the Bay Area. So I was actually trying to find one of my really old zines, but I couldn't find it. So what I used to do is I've always done zines kind of on mental health or fantasy stories. And I used to do a combination of comics and prose. That's the one I couldn't find, but lately I do more things like these. These are some of the more, I say recent, but I think these are probably like 10 years old at this point. Of various different topics. So this one, I feel like I even though the art is actually not very good, I think I enjoy it a lot because it was still in my physically cut and paste phase. And I kind of want to go back to my roots and do that. But what I've been working on more recently is a lot more things about specifically just mental health. So this one is a zine that I was planning on having done this year, but honestly, because of COVID and everything that's going on, that's not really something I was able to do yet. Hopefully, I can in the near future. But it's basically about my struggles with food, and so it's a kind of like illustrations and text. It's kind of a comic, kind of not. And in each one, I pick a different food that I've had some sort of issue with, and I try to connect them to some sort of mental health struggle I'm going through, if that makes sense. I noticed when I was doing these that pretty much all of them were foods that I had in Puerto Rico, and then maybe comparing them to today. It's like in this one, I don't know how well y'all can see the image, but basically, this is what the English word, like what a cafeteria meal would look like at school in Puerto Rico. And this little thing here is actually a milk bag, because in Puerto Rico we have, I don't know if they still do that, but we had milk in bags, and this is kind of a random story, but you would fill them with air and then stick the straw in it and then explode them outside of your classroom. So I was doing these as a way to kind of process my own issues with food and depression and anxiety. And I'm surprised that between October of last year and beginning of this year, right before COVID, I think I hit about 30 different pages. So at some point, I'll be making that into a zine as well. And then what I've been working on right now has been more comics about COVID. I think the pictures I gave were all about COVID. So this one is me going to the grocery store really early on. And it basically, I don't know if it can be read, but it says all the different things I have. So it's me with a backpack and a mask, and the backpack has hand sanitizer, water, all this different stuff. And I've kind of continued with that. Like this is right when all the supermarkets started having 6 feet apart. So I have a few different red dots on the ground in this image, and it just says 6 feet apart. And then on the bottom, it has everybody outside of Safeway being angry. So I've continued to kind of make those. And actually, similar to the person right before, I also had like some images on me being inside, looking outside with one of my cats, being anxious about the world. So that's kind of more what I've been working on. I think the easiest way to see my work would be to go to Instagram. My Instagram is Seren's Dream. I do try to post my comics there as much as I'm able to. And when I do make actual zines, I normally put some sort of announcement there, and I have them on Etsy. But often I only have a pretty short run. So once they're gone, they're gone. I rarely reprint them. But that's a little bit about my work.
Great. Serenity, thank you. Sorry again for the name misspelling, but
it's fine. It's really, really common. When I saw it, it's like, oh, I recognize that error, but it's weird because it's only wrong on the presentation. It's right on everything else.
Ah, darn. Well, at least we got it right in other places. But yeah, really love to hear about your work. So thanks so much for sharing.
Thanks.
Okay, we're gonna go to our next presenter tonight. And that is going to be Kat Ball from Los Angeles.
Hi, so yeah, my name is Kat. I go by she, her. I am based in Los Angeles. Originally, I'm from New York. Most of my work is cartoons, so I also animate, but originally I did mostly comics. So I sort of have like a zine that I made of just a collection of comics I did over the past 5 years. So these were just different projects that don't correlate with each other. And they were all just black ink on white paper. Another thing about my comics is I work at an art museum in Los Angeles. So a lot of my comics actually relate to the artwork that we have or had on display, just in sort of abstract ways. And then this is a comic I did more recently for a fanzine that my friend made called Sonic Heaven. So it actually looks different in the final version. But a lot of my comics are also poems, so it's hard to see, but I write poems along the panels. And then I've also done collage photo poems. So I've had different sort of collage zines that I've done over the years. And I've been doing this since I was really young. So these are kind of just, this might be, I think this is 6 years old, these. And yeah, I just have some more. These are just photos that I really like. This was my childhood diary. And then these are my stuffed animals. And these were actually the original Winnie the Pooh stuffed animals, what inspired Winnie the Pooh. So I just mostly like animals, and just sort of my art always goes back to that. But that's all I have to say.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. You do have about a minute left here, so if I don't want to put you on the spot, but what animals specifically show up in your work?
Most of my illustrations are animals of dogs and lizards.
Dogs and lizards. That's great. I just saw a couple little lizards today. Just the small ones that really blend into the dust, because I was in Lodi, California.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are good.
Well, terrific. Yeah, we'll go ahead and go to the our next exhibitor. So thank you for sharing your work, Kat. And we've got a link to Kat's Giphy page in the chat. So definitely check that out. All right. Okay, so next up tonight, we've got Lyn Patterson Poetry. And this is, I believe, another exhibitor who can't make it tonight, so I will go ahead and...
I'm right here. She's here.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. All right, please take it away.
Yay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lyn Patterson. I am a poet based in Oakland, California, originally from Seattle, Washington, and spent the last 10 years on the East Coast as a pre-K and kindergarten teacher. This is my first zine called Nothing on the Internet Ever Dies. The project was conceptualized after I published my first collection of poetry. I just found myself really fatigued from writing and marketing and all of the things that come with publishing a book. And as I started to get back into writing and brainstorming and drafting, instead of writing poems, I started to write these weird things where I would take like my pictures and overlay them with text, where I would turn my poems like sideways and upside down. And as I thought about how to get this work out into the world, I wasn't always sure of like the format. Like, could I put it on Instagram? Is it poetry? Is it visual art? Like, what the heck is going on? So when I stumbled upon zines, I found the perfect format to put such a like unique project into. And I published this zine called Nothing on the Internet Ever Dies. The zine itself touches on themes of existentialism, online dating, depression, and just the fun of being a millennial in the age of connectivity. And so as I take a step back from the zine, I'm really excited about this new sort of like visual format that I have been playing with. I hope to publish more zines. I'm really excited to see so much diversity in such an experimental space, and really appreciate being able to be a part of the San Francisco Zine Festival.
Great, thank you, Lyn. You have some time left. Would you like to talk about your favorite poets or zine makers or anything?
I love that I have so much time because I'm usually a talker. Yeah, so I think in terms of my favorite poets, people that I really enjoy are Audre Lorde. Audre Lorde has like just an incredibly strong voice and presence. I also really enjoy a poet from Hawaii whose name is William Westlake. He does a lot of stuff with like visual poetry. And so I think in general, I'm sort of in a phase where I'm still writing like long form poems and still thinking about publishing collections of my work, but also just diving into this like visual style and experimenting with code and with how to like format things for Twitter and Instagram and what that means and how people digest and consume art in this digital age. So I'm super excited to look at more people's zine work and see what other people are doing in terms of innovating in this area.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks for all that. Now we will take it to our next presenter, who will be Ulterior Zines. Alex?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, yeah, go ahead, please.
All right. Hello, my name is Alexa Lima. I am based in Marietta, Georgia, which is a little bit outside of Atlanta, Georgia. My pronouns are she and her. And I got into zines as a musician. I am a musician by trade. I started playing piano when I was about 6 years old, and I've been playing in bands over the last, 8 to 10 years. And that's how I got into zines. I made my first zine for my band Wake, which is an experimental hip hop band, noise hip hop band based in Atlanta, Georgia. And this was the first zine that I ever made. It was called Wake ATL Issue 1, which covered the topic of police violence. And so our focus with Wake ATL, the zine itself, was to bring awareness to social issues and create a dialogue between different organizations and the community. And so in this zine, I had different artists submit artwork for it, as well as poets. And I filled in with some collage there. And so here is a good thing about one-page zines is that you can kind of hide different things inside. And so we had like a local publication do a little op-ed there, and then also a poet put in his piece there. So that was my first ever zine back in 2016. And so then we've had about 5 issues, but I also wanted to showcase issue 3, which was about local resistance. So again, we kind of dove right into how you can get involved in your community as far as social justice. And so we have some collage done by myself. A lot of my zines are very collage heavy, not much text, maybe very sparingly, but I'm a very visual person, so I like to do a lot of collage and artwork and stuff like that. So jump forward to my latest zine, which is called the Blackout Poetry Zine. This is the second issue, which came out, I think, back in April. So again, this one is very visually heavy, with a lot of blackout poetry. If you don't know what blackout poetry is, it's basically when you take a piece of, like for instance, what I made these out of was like an old book that my mom gave me back when she used it in college. And so I took just a random page and just started blacking out words and creating poems that way. And so that's what this zine comprises of. It's comprised of collage as well as blackout poetry. So it's very, very visual. It's a half-page zine. And it touches on, you know, life during the COVID-19 pandemic early on, and what I was going through mentally as well. So yeah, those are my 3 latest zines, and that's what I'm about. So yeah.
Great, thank you. That's about 30 seconds left, so I just want to ask, where do you get your material for your collages?
Mostly, like I have a huge collection of old art books, which I draw a lot of inspiration from, because I grew up with, my mom's a visual artist as well as one of my brothers, so I grew up with a lot of visual art around the house. So I draw a lot from just old art books. Cool.
And I know, it struck me that the form of blackout poetry is really just has so much in common with collage. I mean, I guess you could argue that it is kind of a form of collage. So that's something I never really thought of before. Yeah. So awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
we're going to move to our next presenter now. And that is going to be Valley Girl, VLYGRL.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, everyone. So my name is Elisa Damaso, and my pronouns are she, her. And I'm a designer, illustrator, writer, and the creator of Valley Girl, which is a line of fun accessories and apparel and zines with the mission to smash the Bimbo Valley Girl stereotype. I'm originally from Reseda, California, which is just north of Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley. And I have been living and working in San Francisco since 2012. SF Zine Fest was actually the first Zine Fest that I ever attended back in 2014, I think. And I was super inspired by all the makers there, but I didn't get the guts to make my own zines until about 2 years ago, I think. So the term Valley Girl is usually, it usually holds negative connotations. Thanks to 80s pop culture. It's usually, people think of a ditzy white blonde with a credit card, but women from the Valley are actually really diverse, and they're super scrappy and down to earth. And I started Valley Girl to help rep the Valley in a more authentic way. And one of the ways that we do that is through our zines. So this is Valley Girl issue 1. It's a compilation of creative works by women identifying artists from the Valley or living in the Valley. And this was really fun to put together. I put out a call for entries on Instagram, and I got a lot of really amazing entries. This is available in print on valleygirl.com, VLYGRL.com. And selected zines are also available in digital format on gumroad.com/VLYGRL. This is Valley Girl Zine issue 2. This came out this year. And this was really fun to put together too, because the theme of this zine was transformation, and a lot of the artists interpreted it in such really cool ways, like gentrification, loss, and self-realization. I'm really proud of this one. It's also available in print and digital form. This one is called Growing Up Valley, and it's a collection of poetry, flash fiction, and sketches from college. And it's just little glimmers of Valley life. Just kind of intimate portrait of what the San Fernando Valley is like, really. Just like unexpected ways. So this one is called SFV in 35 millimeters. And this is a collection of film photographs that I've taken around the valley. And again, it interprets the San Fernando Valley in different ways that aren't expected, just kind of smashing the stereotype of the bimbo valley girl. It's just like, this is the real valley. So Growing Up Valley and 35 SFV and 35 millimeters is their issue 2 is available digitally on the Gumroad page. So yeah, these are the zines that are available. And there are more zines on valleygirl.com, VLYGRL.com. And if you want to follow, we're on Instagram, valleygirl, VLY_GRRRL. And then like all of our links are in the bio. So thank you for having me.
Great, thanks so much. Those and other zines that I've seen tonight, everyone else's zines that they've shown are really impressive looking. They look like just good quality and stuff that I would love to pick up, and makes me wish that we were having an in-person fest. But since we're here having the digital fest, I really appreciate getting the chance to hear about what everyone has to offer. And I think this format allows us to get to know each other a little bit more when maybe you would walk past the table or not really stop to get to know artists individually. So so we do have some time left. So I would like to just kind of have an open-ended conversation, maybe ask some questions of everyone. First of all, was there anything interesting that came up during the breakout sessions that everyone needs to hear? If so, anybody is welcome to pipe up. And everyone, you can turn your videos on and unmute at this point. Okay, if nothing from the breakout room, I can certainly ask another open-ended question, because it's one thing I noticed from everyone's zines tonight is that a lot of them are very multidisciplinary. We have some with photographs, collage and poetry, different forms, illustration, animation. So what I'd like to know from anybody who wants to share is how different creative forms kind of play off of each other, and how they kind of inspire new works and new forms, especially when those get expressed as zines. So anybody who wants to take that question can.
I start. I don't know if somebody else is, okay. So the question is like multiple formats and how they interact with one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think for me in the like creation process of the zine. I actually like didn't mean to create across multiple mediums and like formats, and I think actually the like freedom to create is what like led me to publishing it as a zine. I was in a very like experimental space with my poetry when I put this project together, and I didn't even actually know that it was going to be a project. I just knew that I was really drawn to like coding, and I was really drawn to the different ways that we communicate with one another in such a like digital age. And I thought that it would be like sort of ironic to create all this art that was based on the internet and like not actually share it on the internet. So as I started experimenting and incorporating like my photography, my like captions from posts and stuff like that, and ripping them apart and cutting them apart to put them in different formats, the project just sort of like, I guess, like came to me. So I just had like just this experimental work, and I just wasn't really sure what to do with it. So when I stumbled on the East Bay Zine Festival, it sort of like helped me to understand that there is a space for this experimental stuff that we do and these like projects that we do, and that zines are a really good place to like let that live.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Yeah, I agree with that. Sorry.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Yeah, zines definitely feel like a space to experiment more. Also considering a lot of the time I personally feel obligated to sort of complete larger projects that would, I guess, what am I trying to say? I feel like a lot of the times I feel like I have to work on what I initially studied, which is not always important or the best ideal thing that I would like to do in terms of like growing my art. And zines help a lot in just figuring out what your thoughts are and how you would like to grow as an artist. A lot of the time for me personally.
Nice. I would like to ask the group, with so many, just kind of everything happening this year, it's very vital, of course, to de-stress when one is feeling overwhelmed and upset and angry and all of those things. How do each or any of you, how have you found good ways to do that, to kind of de-stress, decompartmentalize, and kind of come back to a place of centering?
No, I can say a little bit about that. I feel like especially towards the beginning, making more comics about COVID and putting all my stress into that was really helpful. Oddly enough, I actually had to take a break for about 2 months in the middle of it because even that was overwhelming. And now I'm at a place where I feel like it's helpful again. So I think it really depends, because I noticed that it was like helping me a lot. And then I felt like the pressure of creating was actually making everything worse. And so when I gave myself space to do something totally different, and now recently I've come back to it, I found that again. So I think it depends, but it has been helpful to do comics, especially when I have to go out into the world and I get angry at people. I usually come home and draw. That's been useful.
Right. Yeah, it's a good way of putting that experience into something concrete, to kind of reflect it back. Yeah, totally. Has anybody else found kind of creativity in this time, or inspiration, where you can find it, with having to stay at home and being limited in that way? Or is it, kind of antithetical to creativity?
I think so. So I'm still in college. I'm actually in my senior year right now. So when I was able to come back home and work on, I mainly work in collage, was able to do a lot of collage work, which I hadn't done because I had been in school and I didn't have time to. So now that I was able to do that, I'm glad that I was finally kind of able to tap into that again. And like I said, kind of briefly in my presentation, the zines that I've made, I've only ever made 2. And it was the first time that I was ever able to experiment with zine making. And now, like after this like session especially, I'm like, I want to go make like 10 zines right now, and just from the inspiration that I got from everyone that spoke tonight. So, but I also kind of relate to what Serenity said about like the pressure of creating sometimes. So I think it's a balance.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but that's awesome, and totally echo that what you said about you know, seeing everyone's work and following everyone else. This is a great group, and we're gonna put up the links of everyone's work so that you all can follow each other, and that everyone tuning in on the live stream can have another chance to get those down. I would like to ask one more question, just because we do have a little more time. Let me see here. Oh gosh, I don't have another one prepared. I'm out of my questions. Is there any question that anybody would like to ask the group, or anybody else specifically? Anything that came up from tonight? Okay, doesn't sound like it.
Oh,
no, Lynn, yeah, go ahead.
I'm super new to zine making. This is my first zine, and we have like such varying levels of experience. I would love to hear how did you come to like making zines, or how you are like sharing the process with other people to empower other artists to like experiment in the zine space.
So I can maybe comment on that. Like I said before, I started making zines back in 2016 for my band, so it was through music for me. But since then, I've kind of shared the love of zines and how I make zines with others by doing zine workshops at like local libraries with youth as well as adults. So that's been my way of kind of sharing the love of zines.
That's awesome. Anybody else? That was a great question, by the way.
I think I'd always been exposed to zines, and I'd always seen other people's zines. And then some of my friends that are also artists, they do work in collage, but they had also kind of wanted to get into zine making. And her and I both wanted to start, and I found this really basic image on the internet that shows you how to make that sort of classic like 8 square folding, where you cut the line down the middle and then you fold into the little booklets that you make. And then I just kind of went from there. I think it's kind of like what Alexa was saying. You kind of start, at least for some people, not everyone. I feel like some people start in the things that they originally did, and they kind of branch out using the skills that they have from their first things that they learned or were experienced in.
Yeah, awesome. Well, great. Now we are. I'm going to share the last couple slides for tonight. Before I do, I just want to say thank you all so much. This was. I'm glad we had a little chance to talk a little bit after everyone's presentations. This is a really cool group, and it's really inspiring to see all of your work. So I'll go back to the screen share one last time here. Here is the slide that I mentioned of everyone's links. This is in the order of everyone who presented. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this right now. This is the one place, you know, where everyone's work in one place, so you can find everybody. So we definitely encourage you to check each other out. The upcoming Cyberfest events that we're going to have, it's going to be another show and tell group tomorrow and Wednesday nights, groups M and N, both at 6 p.m. On Thursday, there's going to be the Thinking Captions reading with Tana Tucker, and I'm going to skip ahead to the next slide here to show the 3 guests that Tana is going to who are going to accompany Tana at the reading. It's going to be Minnie Fan, Richie Pope, and Soleil Summer. Coming on Thursday, September 24th at 6 p.m. On Friday, we're going to have another show and tell group. I believe that's going to be the final show and tell group at 6 p.m. And then on Saturday, September 26th, it's going to be our final day of Zine Fest. There's going to be a family-friendly drawing and zine making session at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then at 2 o'clock, it's going to be our closing event. We're calling it the Log Off to keep with our Cyberfest theme. Week 3 merchandise is now available at our store, designed by Tana Tucker. The merchandise designed by our other 2 guests of honor, Alex Combs and Deathby Sun. That's also available at our store, so you can pick it up. And that supports SF Zine Fest and supports the guests of honor. We got some really great work, some really great merchandise. So you can find that at sfzinefest.org. So that's going to be it for tonight. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. And we're going to stop the live